What is something about your country you're actually really proud of? As a Mexican, I have to admit that our government has gone to shit, but we do have an amazing food culture. I was hitchhiking through Baja a few years back and had brought loads of dry foodstuffs with me up to a quite remote beach to stay for a couple of days. Little did I know I wouldn't touch any of it, because the Mexican family next to me were always cooking and would not take no for an answer. Mexican abuelas and their cooking are amazing. Yeah, Mexicans are way generous, even to total strangers. It's amazing. My grandfather always instilled in me growing up that you always share your food with others. Anyway, having stayed with the French family for about a month, it was total culture shock. They were, understandably, wanted us out after a few days. Granted, Americans eat so damn much. I have a story that proves their generosity. Years ago I worked for Aaron's Furniture Rental. I remember it was late on a weekday and I had to repo a washer and dryer. I get to the house and it's a trailer park. Knock on the door and I interrupt a Hispanic family in the middle of dinner. They didn't speak much English, but they understood why I was there. Anyhow, I load up and the man is signing the paperwork and the woman bring me a foil-covered plate of their dinner. I come on a weeknight, interrupt dinner, and repossess their shit, and they give me an amazing plate of food to take home. Damn near made me cry. Also made me really hate my job. Poland. National parks and peerages. God bless pierogi. Ada. I don't know singular versus plural. That was my main food in university, until I got scurvy. Apparently vitamin C is important. Yes, I was actually stupid enough to just binge on pierogies and vodka until I got scurvy in a first world country, Canada. Maybe it's because my aunt is a nuclear physicist, but my favorite part of being Polish is that our nation gave birth to the first double Nobel Prize winner in history, and the first female Nobel Prize winner in history, and she was totally badass. And also, of course, peerages. My mama always reminds me that Marie Curie is Polish, a fact I've known and remembered since the first time she told me when I was a young child. Nowadays I like to mess with her a little whenever Curie comes up. Oh, are you talking about the French physicist Marie Curie? The look on her face right before she remembers I'm just goofing around is always priceless. My boyfriend came from France and he loves to annoy me in the same way. Also, Chopin is a French composer. I know he's just freaking with me, but still. I'm from Iceland and I have to say that I'm super proud of its nature. I mean, it's definitely special and so unique. I visited Iceland for the first time last year and it's by far the most beautiful wildlife I've ever seen. Definitely one of the best places in the world. Lego. At one point Lego was almost 1% of Denmark's global exports. At one point Tycho Brahe possessed 1% of all wealth in Denmark. Bitch, I am the 1%. H. C. Anderson. Niels Bohr. Our ability to control water. The work the Dutch put in to make this land livable with the dam systems earns my respect. Del Torken. For a moment there I thought, now which country has freaking waterbenders? If bending was real, the Netherlands would be a waterbending mecca. Not sure if it was a Dutch village, but I watched about a village that had, instead of roads, have some sort of canal and boats to move about, which is pretty cool and looks clean too. When Justin Bieber visited England, he said that based on the way he was treated he would never come back. We did that. Justin Bieber is literally banned from my country and not allowed to enter Argentina. That is hilarious. How did it come about though? If I remember correctly, it had something to do with him or his bodyguards attacking a photographer and also him stepping on a flag during a concert. Yep, that was it. The other comment is right, but on top of that, in the same trip he got food poisoning, timed all over the stage and stopped the show halfway through, and completely trashed his room. Costa Rica. Our beautiful and varied landscapes, everything from tundra to rainforest to deserts. More than 25% of our land is protected by the government or are a refuge for all the animals and biodiversity on land and in the oceans, and around 99% of our energy comes from renewable sources. It's also a true democracy when it comes to voting. Our presidents aren't always that great, but at least we the people choose them directly. I've visited and was impressed by the incredible natural beauty and variety. How voting day was basically a national holiday that everyone I saw seemed to think was important. And I'll never forget visiting a small farm and talking to the owner about the pests like Wadamundi who would take part of the crop. His attitude was basically, well, they're part of the forest, so we just plant some extra to account for their share. I'm sure you have your flaws, and people who aren't nice, but pretty much everyone I met had a basic attitude of graciousness towards each other and their surroundings. I am a guy who has never been to another country ever before. The reason is financial plus lack of time. I try to satisfy my urge to travel by looking at photos and watching vlogs. Costa Rica is definitely on my list. It's really beautiful. Where's the tundra in Costa Rica? We got a freaking dragon on our flag. Switzerland. That cheese that aged 4 or 5 years in a cave. Also our education system. There's so many options, especially when you don't like school and theoretical work and prefer to do something practical. It doesn't cost much either. Hop Schweiz. Also Roger Federer. He's aging better than the cheese. Belgium. Here we made the fries. And good fricking beer. Burgon de Flandre, Tripel Carmelite, Grimbergen. Any Van Hansebroek brewery. Damn, they are so freaking tasty, I would like to drown in them. Duvel and Brugstad are even better. Scottish people are funny frickers. We have a dark sense of humor even in the worst circumstances. Also, we have the unicorn as our national animal. I absolutely love that. I take it you know why. It's because the national animal of England is the lion, and mythically the unicorn is the only animal that can beat a lion. I actually didn't know that, but that does explain part of why the unicorn is in chains on the emblem that comes on passports, etc. Loved visiting Scotland last year. I also did not know how common it was for bar bands to cover classic country songs. May just be a coincidence, but when I was in Inverness and Edinburgh there were a lot of bands and bars playing classic country music, and as an American who loves that genre, I'd never thought I'd get to dance and sing along to Kenny Rogers, Johnny Cash, John Denver and the rest of their ilk so far from home. But I'll be damned I did, and it was great. You Scots were definitely not shy about your humor and dancing. We've got the only birds in the world that have won a war against humans. You've also got the only humans in the world that have lost a war against birds. Fun fact, their feathers make them somewhat immune to bullets. And also they run 50 kilometers. What are they called? Emus. The Emu War. But in darkness I remember, for I dream of what was true on the morning of November back in 1932. We had chased the fight down under, we were snoozing under stars when the footsteps came like thunder, and the souvenirs were scars. They had followed us and found us in the silence where we slept and maneuvered to surround us as we wandered and we wept. There was nothing but the killing, there was little set for death and the sounds of noises chilling, and the stench of emu breath, and whenever there's a weather where the clouds are drawing in I can almost see the feather, and my fallen former kin. And in darkness I remember, for I dream of what was true on that morning of November back in 1932. 60% of the world's polar bears live in Canada. I don't know why, but I'm proud of that. Polar bear here. Yes, it's a great place to live. Tell all my PB friends. All the salmon and campers you can eat. Seriously though, we can't have certain types of doorknobs on the outer doors of our houses, because the bears have learned how to open them. Second worst is coming out the one sitting in your car. As a proud Canadian I had no idea. Thank you? Not to brag, but people in my hometown in Serbia have the ability to suck the alcohol out of the deodorant. I did not think this was gonna blow up. Now my top comment is about sucking deodorant. Probably the most impressive flex on here. Wow. We across the Danube have not discovered the secret yet. We still filter sanitizer like peasants. I know the prompt said country, but to be honest I'm kinda proud of my species for this one. As an American, I am really proud of our national park system. There are so many amazing natural wonders in the United States, since we are, geographically, such a large country, and the national park system helps keep these wonders alive and available for anyone to visit. Places like Yellowstone, Glacier National Park, and the Grand Canyon are natural wonders. To non-Americans thinking of visiting the United States, skip the touristy places like Disney World or Hollywood. Instead, go visit the national parks. They are amazing. To Americans traveling the country, please do the same. Our country has so many gorgeous and pristine places to visit that aren't choked with millions of tourists, unbearable traffic, and pointless my name on a shot glass tchotchkes. Visited the US just recently and our guide brought us to the Badlands. Just driving through there was breathtaking. Thanks, Leslie. I am big enough to admit that I am often inspired by myself. This was my first thought as well. PBS has a good documentary series about their creation, the national parks. America's best idea. There is sometimes tension between the ideas of making them as accessible to everyone as we can versus preservation. But it's pretty awesome that we have a bunch of natural spaces that have been preserved since the 1800s. Not as parks, game lands for the rich. Not as just a resource to be tapped. But because people passionate about nature wanted other people to be able to go hang out in nature too. There are also some awesome state parks in a lot of places. The US has some really nice natural beauty. I rarely have the time or finances to go see major national parks, but the photos are always enjoyable.